Welcome to Midlife Unplugged, the Fuck It Years. I'm your host, Lara Portelli. This is the space where we strip away the polite BS, rip the gloves off and get real about what it means to thrive in our second act. Each week, I'm joined by a guest who's walking their own bodacious midlife path. We're talking menopause, divorce, reinvention, and everything in between. Buckle up, because this isn't your mother's midlife crisis. This is Midlife Unplugged. Hello and welcome back, everybody, to Midlife Unplugged, the Fuck It Years. I'm your host, Lara Portelli. Lora Ulrich is joining us today all the way from Florida, USA. Yeah, welcome, Laura. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Lara. It's an honor to be on your show.
Thank you. Thank you for coming along. And Laura is a certified holistic nutritionist and a whole lot more than that as well. She's going to help us unpack lots today around menopause and having a real big go at life and taking chances when you're not sure and having a go. So, Laura, one of the first questions that was on the sheet that we were talking about just before we came on was, tell us your fuck it moment. You ready to jump into that and tell us a little bit about yourself as well? Tell us a little bit about Laura. And tell us your fuck it moment.
So a little bit about myself. As Lara said, I live in Florida. I am 59 years old. I have been living here in Florida for about 18 years. Before that, I was living in Alaska, and I probably will tell you a little more about that story in a little bit. But I absolutely love, and am passionate about empowering women to feel and look their best, because I personally struggled with so many health issues, my own self. I grew up very, very sick, asthma, allergies, thyroid issues, fibromyalgia before it was a word. My goodness, food allergies. I've had a liver disease, like so many experiences and things that I've been through. I had a fiance that died when I was 19, just a lot of things. And so when you ask, tell me your fuck it moment, I'm like, man, there were a lot of them in my little life that I've had so far, but I can share with you one of my most recent. How's that sound?
Please do.
My most recent fuck it moment came in, I would say it was the end of 2020, when I was struggling with my own menopausal symptoms and felt like I was completely losing my mind. I was 53, I was still having my period, and I had a total, complete hysterectomy, both tubes, both ovaries, cervix, uterus, like everything, because they thought that I had cancer. I'm also BRCA2 gene positive, and I had a huge fibroid in my uterus. They couldn't see back to my ovaries. At the time, I had a client whose mother was dying of stage 4 ovarian cancer, so I was scared. My gynecologic oncologist suggested that we remove everything so that in case I had cancer. I woke up on the cancer floor in the hospital and I didn't have cancer. But the disturbing thing is that nobody prepared me or explained to me what was going to happen in a forced menopause situation when they took tubes, ovaries, everything out. And I had no idea. And I'm in the industry. I've had my wellness business for 30 years, and I had no idea what was going to happen. When I say I thought I was losing my mind, at the time, my father-in-law was going through Alzheimer's dementia. And actually, he had died in 2012. And I had watched him go through all of that. And so now here I am, the end of 2020. It was a year post total hysterectomy, and I felt like I was losing my mind, like I was getting the beginnings of Alzheimer's. My anxiety was through the roof. I felt like crap. Everything was half empty instead of half full, like the negativity, just everything hurt. Like I didn't know what to do. And I felt like I was losing my mind as well, because I'm a friggin' wellness practitioner. I should know what to do, right? And so I was tired of accepting that this was the way it was going to be, and it was normal aging. And some of my doctors at the time had said that I absolutely couldn't have hormone therapy because I was BRCA2 gene positive. We could have a whole episode about that.
Yeah.
They were looking at old data, right? They didn't
Mm.
know what they were doing. And I said, this is ridiculous. I am not going to suffer anymore. I almost got divorced from my husband because I just didn't want anything anymore. And finally I said, fuck it to conventional medicine and conventional advice. And I was seeking out some functional medicine doctors that were going to be able to help me get my life back. And I finally was able to find one gal. It took me, long story short, it took me until this year to finally feel like I was feeling like myself again. And I just want to help other women refuse to accept feeling terrible as their new normal.
Mm. So from 53 to now, did you say? It's
Yeah,
taken you, yeah.
the beginning, because I had the beginning of this year, I was on my fourth doctor that was helping me with hormones.
Mm.
The other ones were still very conservative. Let's
I
just
get
put
you.
it that way. And
So,
so I finally found a doctor that this year, the beginning of this year, I finally started to start feeling like myself again.
so let's unpack for a little bit here, Laura.
Sure.
Convention, conventional medicine and doctors that definitely have a place, and it's not our place to say any different. They've got their spot. Let's unpack a little bit about functional medicine for a moment, because I have started to do the same. And what came about for me and was a really big eye opener for me in our winter this year, which was only really, 5 months ago, I got sick. There was a lot happening with my body. And I discovered a little bit about functional medicine this year as well. And there is a difference, right? They run what I found out was that they run different tests. They run
Mhm.
tests that the other doctors don't run, and that are covered by, like in our country, in Australia, we have a system called Medicare. I'm not sure what you have over there in US. And, the doctors will write the blood test form to have the generic test done, but they
Mhm.
don't write the script for the underlying things, right? And I didn't know this till earlier this year when I stumbled across my girl here in the mountains where I live, and she started to explain how functional health works. And
Yeah.
it's an eye-opener, right?
It really is, because for functional medicine or even holistic nutrition, we're really looking at the root cause, the root issues to help fix it rather
Mm,
than mask it or cover it and just deal with disease.
mm.
That's
Yeah,
how I would say it.
yeah, it's getting down to that. And it's treating, what I like about holistic is it's treating the whole person,
Mhm.
not just the disease, as you say. And
Yeah.
from my own experience, like you talking about feeling like crap, not sleeping. I remember working in the disability field and driving, and a big part of my job and my role at the time was driving. And I actually had a little boy in the car with me. I was transporting about 40 minutes away from where he lived, and I had to pull the car over. I was that tired, like I thought we were going to crash. Um, and I had someone's life in my hands, literally in that
Yeah.
car, right? And I'd been to the doctors and I hadn't slept properly in months. And every week it was another tablet, or I don't know what's wrong. We've done all the tests, or here's a tablet, go away, not
Yeah.
knowing that they don't tell you that it affects every bodily function. So there was a point where I couldn't even do daily functions of a human being. I ended up in hospital having to, have help with that. And you think to yourself, oh my God, as if this isn't scary enough, um, you know, what else could go wrong, right?
They're giving you medications that give you side effects that you need more medications for.
It's
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And it's so sad. And I mean, nothing bad on the doctors because they have a lot to do. They're not trained in everything. Even in this country, and I've heard many countries, even around the world, gynecologists are not trained in menopause. They're trained in baby care, you know, like get your period and babies and all those things, but they don't even get the training as far as how to help women in menopause. And we're living much longer now, and we are in menopause for how many years? Like decades. So, and I remember when my grandma had to go to a psychiatric ward, I bet you it was because she was in menopause and was losing her mind. And it's amazing. I would say probably 90% of my clients that come to me are on an antidepressant when we should be addressing their hormones, whether it's insulin, cortisol, estrogen, progesterone, whatever. It's amazing. And so, yeah, getting to that root cause of what's going on so that we can figure out how to help move the needle to get you feeling better.
Absolutely. And but midlife and, you know, this time of our lives doesn't have to be all doom and gloom, does it, Laura? You've taken
ma'am.
You've made some major changes in your life in midlife. Tell us a little bit about that. I'm really curious to know what made you make some big decisions, and quite scary, really.
Are you talking about when I moved?
Yes. What
Yes.
chapter was that, and what made you decide?
So it was actually when I was 40 years old. So for years, I was living in North Pole, Alaska. So back up, I was born in Arizona. At 5 years old, moved to New York, grew up in New York until my early 20s. Then I was in Minnesota for 3 years. I met my boyfriend, John, who wanted to move back to Alaska to be with his kids. I followed John. So at 26, I moved to Fairbanks / North Pole, Alaska. I was like, why Alaska? Couldn't it be somewhere warm, like some tropical island? But I really, at that point in my life, I had lost my fiance when I was 19 years old. And I thought, what if John is the one and I don't follow him? And, you know, 30 something years later, we're still together. Anyway, so I moved with him to Alaska, and the cold never agreed with me. Let's just put it that way. And I felt like I was in the middle of nowhere. And everybody kept saying, you know, you'll be fine. You'll get used to the cold. No, I wasn't getting used to the cold. And then the cold started to affect me physically, like my bones hurt. And I know that I was already going through perimenopause. They say that you're in perimenopause for up to 10 years. I would put any amount of money on it that I was already in perimenopause, even though I was 53 when I had my hysterectomy and still having my period. So the cold was affecting me physically, then mentally, then spiritually. And I just knew that I couldn't do it anymore. I just couldn't. And so I snowbirded. I don't know if you guys call it snowbird, where you live somewhere in the winter and somewhere else in the summer.
All right. Yep.
So I was here in Florida for 2 winters, because here in Florida, winter is still warm. So Alaska, it's 50 below, and I'm here in Florida where could be 50, it could be 80 degrees Fahrenheit, who knows? So I wintered here for 2 years. And as my husband said, we had a 5-year plan of figuring out what to do and how to move to Florida. And my husband didn't realize 5 years was going to happen so fast, as he says, as his laid back Sagittarius that he is. And it was the first winter, I was supposed to be here for 3 months, and I ended up being here for 5 months because I have my own business, so I can work from wherever I am as long as I have the internet. And my husband was still working for somebody else, and he had taken a couple of vacations to come and see me. Well, he was a supervisor at the job that he had, and he had, I don't know, 100 guys underneath him. And so the second year, I just made my airplane ticket for 5 months, and he could only visit me one time because he said that he would never be able to let any of the other guys take that many vacations, so he didn't feel comfortable. And so it was like, okay, well, it's time to shit or get off the pot. Are we going to move? Because I'm never coming back in the winter. Or are we going to have a bigger conversation, and are we going to have to get a divorce because you're staying in Alaska and I'm going to be in Florida? And we've now lived here in Florida for almost 18 years.
Did all get on.
And we knew one person, Lara, the realtor. That was it. Knew nobody. So we put the house up for sale. We sold everything. And we kind of made it like a game to see who was going to make the most money. He was selling everything outside the house. I was selling everything inside the house. And we sold everything except for what could fit in his Toyota pickup truck, except for he shipped all his mechanic, all the tools. He's an airplane mechanic. So he shipped all of his tools and I think like a moose thing, whatever. And we drove from North Pole, Alaska to Fort Myers, Florida. That's a long way.
The moose thing make it?
It did. The moose made it. The moose, the bear hide. My husband's got his own office in our house, and that's the man room with with all his critters. So yeah, we knew nobody. We just moved. It was scary, but I knew that staying was killing me.
Killing your soul, right? As well.
Completely killing my soul.
Yeah. I think, as a woman, don't you? I think we have that intuition that this is killing me. I'm slowly dying some way, whether it's, mentally, physically, spiritually. You just know. I think we're born with that.
Yeah.
We know we're born with that knowledge.
As long as we're able and willing and not scared to tap into it.
Absolutely. We talked about that before we came on, our woo-woo-ness, didn't we? And
yes, we did.
I think it's there to protect us and guide us a little bit, and especially this time of our life. Like, I know my faith has been tested in myself as well. And through my faith being tested, I've actually found more pieces of myself, put myself back together, if that makes any kind of sense.
Makes total sense to me, Lara.
So as we wrap up today, tell me anything more about yourself, Laura. Anything about your work, you as an individual, because I think we've got more to unpack. I really think you and I are on the same wavelength here, and I'd like to get you back on very soon if I can, because I think your answers were just so poignant to what we've got to talk about. And just wrap me up a little bit here with who is Laura, everything. I know your work, you're very passionate about your work, but just tell me a little bit more about yourself as well. And
I love nature. Nature really fuels my soul. I love walking, taking hikes, any kind of self-care, and I teach this to my clients. Self-care doesn't have to be like, people think it's, going for a massage or like doing something. Self-care could be sitting down and taking a breath. Like, I have a cat. I'm very allergic to him, but he lives on our lanai. He came to us at one of the hurricanes that was like 8 years ago as a little baby kitten. And so now he owns my lanai. But self-care for me is sometimes going out to look through the glass out the sliders into the lanai to see the cat living his best life, whether he's sleeping on the chair or the lanai concrete or his bed. Like, he just does life the way he wants to, And so, like, some of the things that I love to do in the morning when I wake up, one of my spare bedrooms, I made my meditation room. But what I do when I go in there and I go in there to get grounded because I'm a type A Virgo. So when I get grounded, then I can be my type A self while my feet are still on the floor. So I go in there and I get present. As I'm walking into that room, I start thinking about all the 50 billion things I'm going to be doing when I go downstairs, right? But then when I go in that room, it's like my sanctuary, and I look out the window and I get present. I'm going to switch to what I do for a living for the ladies. As you had said, I'm a certified holistic nutritionist. I am a menopause health coach and a midlife metabolism specialist. I know from living, right? Like, my clients love working with me because I'm not just trained in this, I live it every day of my life. I know what it feels like to struggle with weight, health, specific health issues, not feel good, like even way before the menopause thing happened, right? And so knowing all of the things that I know and putting the pieces together, being a holistic nutritionist, it's not just about nutrition. It's about wellness. It's about lifestyle. It's about figuring out the pieces of the puzzle and making it simple and realistic for women to be able to incorporate small changes, right? Like we think we need to make these huge sweeping changes in order to feel better, but it's really the small, consistent daily actions that make a significant impact on how we feel. And I believe that when we feel better physically, we feel better mentally, we feel better spiritually, and then we are more prepared to be successful in our personal and our professional lives, right? And then as women stepping into our own power and feeling confident and good about ourselves, we then give other women permission to be their true authentic self.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. I just love that. So I know tough going, right? I know when I left my husband, I dropped 42 kilos just on my own. I don't know what that is in you do pounds over there, don't you?
We do pounds.
Yeah. And I've changed nothing with my workout regime. I work out 6 days a week, sometimes 7. I still eat the same as when I dropped the weight, but the weight's come back on. Some of it, all of it. But and you know, the doctor's saying, oh, it's menopause. And I've just got to be gentle with myself and keep trying to work it out. And what else can I do? I still work out every day and eat healthy.
Can I give you a little feedback on that?
Sure.
So the doctors aren't trained in that either, right? They were not trained in menopausal women, metabolism, hormones, all the things. And so what happens as we go through the menopause journey, as the estrogen decreases, insulin resistance increases. So what happens when you have insulin resistance is that the foods that we eat that spike our blood sugar produce too much insulin, and insulin's job is to store fat. So our body is doing its job. So it makes it even more important for us to learn how to eat low glycemic so that we're not spiking our blood sugar, because we're already insulin resistant because estrogen's walking out the door.
And it doesn't help when you've got polycystic ovarian, right?
Well, that all ties into all of it. It's completely connected to insulin resistance as well. So the blood, like think about a triangle, right? The bottom of the triangle is the biggest part. That's where we take a look at insulin and cortisol, because cortisol is a stress hormone, right? Cortisol, when cortisol goes up, it brings insulin up too, right? It's like insulin has FOMO and goes, oh, let me go crazy with cortisol. So cortisol is increasing insulin resistance. Estrogen dropping is increasing insulin resistance. And that's why it's so important for us to not spike our blood sugar and learn how to still be passionate while not being stressed. Because it impacts our hormones.
I love that. Being passionate, not being stressed. That's something to think about, isn't it?
It is, and it's easier said than done.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Laura, how do we educate the educated? Like, you know, I've done a course in menopause too, and how do we, you know, you can't really march into a doctor's office and say, you need to be doing better, but we need to educate people, don't we, on what happens when women hit a certain age. And, you know, I was just thinking what you were saying then about cortisol. You know, we live in an age where people are so stressed and families are, you know, in economic climates and people have got so much on. And what you were saying earlier about even if it's opening the curtain and having a look at your cat living his best life. There's got to be some outs for people from that stress, and because it has such an effect on our health, right?
I mean, we need some cortisol or we wouldn't get out of bed in the morning, but it's just making sure that it's not running our life, right? And that a lot of ladies feel fine because it's their daily MO to be stressed out to the max, and they don't realize that it's not healthy because that's how they feel every day. And then when they are able to make a change, then they realize, oh my goodness, it's completely killing me, right? So I don't know how to educate doctors that aren't willing. The doctors that I know that have stepped outside of their traditional medicine to learn on their own was because something happened to them or one of their family members. But they're busy. They're not going even you or I, right? Like, we have life going on. We're not going to learn something or change something until it means something to us, until we're sick and tired of what's going on. And so I think the better angle is to scream from the rooftops and just shine our light and educate more women, just like how you were talking about regular medicine doctor, and then you found a functional doctor. And so if we're going to any practitioner, it could be a fitness trainer, it could be a nutritionist, whoever. If you're going to your practitioner and you know that you still don't feel well, then perhaps you need to find somebody else with a different toolbox, because you don't have to live that way and you are not broken. We just need, our bodies changed the rules. And so we need different toolboxes that will address the new rules that our body's living by.
Yeah. And I think sometimes, I know for myself, the frustration comes from the searching and the cost. It's not just the financial cost, like, it's thousands. I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on different things and doctor's appointments, because not all doctors here bulk bill. Some people are $105 for 15 minutes. That's one thing, right? The cost to your bank account, but the cost again to your soul when you keep going back, and your mind, like you said, the mind. And you see the same women in the waiting room. I saw you here last week. Yes, I'm back again because, and then my doctor, and you converse in the waiting room with other women. And the lady said to me one day, my doctor told me not to come back anymore because they can't help me. And I went, my eyes were bulging out of my head because I was so tired, but the same thing. And we're in this cyclic, it's scary on that journey, isn't it? It's scary trying to find that person.
It really is. I mean, I'm in the industry, and it took me 4 doctors to be able to feel better. I have my clients all the time ask me, can you go back to school so you can write prescriptions? I'm like, no, I'm not going back to school. But I read their labs and I offer them suggestions of what to say to their doctors. I think the more women talk to each other, like, think about where you live in Australia, when you're talking to other women that they may resonate with some of the struggles you're going through, then maybe you can suggest going to see your functional medicine doctor, right? That can help in a different angle. It's just letting women know that they're not broken and they don't have to live like this, right? If you don't feel well and you know something's not right, talk to other women and see who they have that is helping them. And just be careful with information on the internet and always know where it's coming from, because there's a lot. Anybody can be on the internet, so you have to be careful.
Yes, that's another thing, isn't it? I found my functional gal on the internet, but it takes a lot of sifting through, doesn't it? And research and watching, and it takes time, and not every woman has time to do that. I mean, you could kind of say at our hour of light, that hopefully women have got a little bit more time on their hands. But again, what's the nuclear family isn't the go anymore, is it? Like, some people are raising their grandchildren now because of other things, and it's back
to taking care of their parents.
Yes, hand up. Yes, that's me this year. My dad went to a nursing home.
Yeah, but if you think about it, if we don't put in the time to try and figure out to get well, it takes a lot of time and effort to not feel good.
Absolutely.
So if it's going to take effort and work to not feel good, what if we put that effort and work into trying to figure out how to feel better?
Yeah. Great points. Great points, Laura. Amazing. You've done so much. It's great.
Thank you, Lara.
What's moving forward for you? What's the next steps for your business, for your life?
Moving forward for my business, the more women that I can touch and reach, like touch, not physically, right? But the more women that I can make an impact in their life so that they feel better in any capacity, that's my mission. That fuels my soul. And so I work with people one-on-one. I do group programs. I have online courses. I do public speaking. As I'm just trying to reach as many women as possible so that they know that they're not crazy, they're not broken, and they can feel better, regardless of how old they are.
Cool. That's so good, Laura.
Thank you, sweetheart.
Thank you. No, thank you. It's been amazing chatting to you. I love your courage and your passion and your tenacity to, get on with things. And I think we've all got to have a bit of a sprinkle of all those ingredients, and a will and a determination to keep going, keep searching, keep looking. And please listen to Laura's words. You're not losing your mind, even though you feel like you are. And that there are women out here to listen and walk with you and talk with you and reach out. And as Laura said, be careful on the internet. But the important thing is that there is support out here, and know that women have walked this path before you and are still walking it. So as we wrap up today, we'd like to thank you, Laura. What was your website?
Website is my name. So it's Lora Ulrich. It's spelled LoraUlrich.com. And ladies, if you're new to Lara's show, take a look in the background and you see the 2 books that she's written. I want to shout out to you, Lara, because I know how many women that are new to you that maybe are thinking about divorce or have been through a divorce. One of Laura's books is Divorced at 50. Fuck, now what?
Oh, thank you, Laura. Thank you for that. And as I said, I think this is just the beginning of us catching up. I think you'll be back very soon and we can keep going with this conversation.
I would love that. I would be honored, Lara. Thank you so much.
That's all right. Thanks so much.
That's a wrap on this episode of Midlife Unplugged, the fuck it years. If today's conversation lifts something up in you, hit subscribe, share it with your midlife crew, and keep the conversation going. I'm Lara Portelli. See you next week for another raw, real, and unapologetic chat.